with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I had a tooth that decided to have some dental work on me unannounced, and I was trying to keep the tongue away from it. The tooth has a very sharp piece, so the tongue just wants to rub on it. So anyway, thanks for putting up with me. You probably saw some of the slides as we rotated through. After last month's meeting, we had David Jolly here. Was everybody here for David Jolly? Yeah! Well, I invited David to come out and do a picture with the golf carts decorated, along with some of the signs we've had out in the field for those roadside sign rallies. Has anybody been to a roadside sign rally? Okay, fantastic. Well, we had the signs and the golf carts dressed up, and we also had the wonderful blue umbrellas. Okay, I see a couple here in the crowd. Yeah. So anyway, those are the sorts of things we want to be doing in the future. We're going to be doing it after today's meeting too. We've got a couple carts out here, so feel free to come out and join us. Just hold the sign, and it's basically trying to give speakers a good impression, but also it gives us something to show that we were here. Okay, so thanks for participating in that. The other thing that we've also got rolled out with is the golf cart decorations. Okay. Just happen to have this one with Ash's sign on here, okay? And the whole idea is that we can have red, white, and blue on our golf carts, along with signs supporting what we believe in. That's the So with that in mind, I'll roll into the economics. And on the first slide, remember last month we talked about the Bureau of Labor Statistics, how Trump fired the person? And he said, oh, they readjusted numbers before. They readjusted numbers over the past month or two. And what I got a hold of was going back about 20 years worth of the adjustments that have occurred. Have they occurred in the past? And the answer is yes. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, much to the credit, pulled together this information. It was only about 1,200 people to figure out how many people are employed throughout the country. This is not the U.S. Census. These people, 1,200 people, have to go out there and find all this information out. They come out with an initial estimate. Then, the next month, they make an adjustment as more information comes in, and then after that, they make another adjustment. So, those adjustments can either be lower, then here's your initial estimation, either lower or higher. So, if they come out higher, that means the economy is a little bit stronger than what they initially estimated. If it comes out lower, it's going to be a little bit worse than estimated. If it comes out really worse, that means it's really bad news. Okay? So, as you can see here on the right-hand side, the last 4 months or so, that's what's going on with Trump's administration. It's one of the reasons he got rid of her. Okay? And have we had downward revisions in the past? Anything below that red line means it's a downward revision compared to the initial estimation. So when he said that estimations are really, the revisions are really bad, compared to the past, not really. These folks are doing a very good job at the best they can, but that's not an excuse. The 1,200 people are doing a wonderful job for what they are able to do. Next slide. What we're looking at on this guy is the number of the number of net new jobs that occur each month. Yes. So you probably heard about the 22,000. That's in the lower right-hand corner. That's what Trump has done. Okay? That's why he's so upset. You know, and that's one of the reasons why he's pushing for lower interest rates. It's not because the economy's healthy, it's because the job market's not there and the economy's not doing well. Next slide. What we have is weekly unemployment figures. When people get laid off, they go file for unemployment, right? They go online. This comes from the state. This is not a national, it's not BLS. BLS adds the state's data, but this data comes from the state level. And the reason that's important is this is the key number that I look to on a weekly basis to see what is going on in the monthly net new job numbers. The net new job numbers on a monthly basis are what the unemployment rate is based off of. But the key point is that you get this information on Thursdays. You know, we just got it for 2 days, well, on this past Thursday, I had to adjust the scale on the left because the number came in so high. The red bar, the most recent one, is pushing up, I think, 285,000. In other words, it's not a good number. And by the way, those a lot of those unemployment filings came out of the state of Texas, not Virginia, not Maryland, where we got some deluge counts that were taking place in September. So the fact that it came out of a different state, that's not a good sign for Donald Trump. Okay. Turning to inflation, all right, because the number one thing is Trump has major problems with the economy, either on the job front or on the inflation front. So what we have on the next slide is the monthly inflation numbers. Remember we talked about the dominoes that each month a new number comes in for the monthly? You add them up and that comes up in your annual. Well, see the one on the far right? That's a tall bar. That's not good. That means for the month of August of 25, it came in much higher, relatively higher compared to the others. Well, it pushed off the smaller number from August of the prior year. So the larger one came in, pushed off. Okay. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. And what has gone on is that the new months came in quite a bit larger. That's the reason why inflation came up. What we're headed out to, so every month, the oldest one on the left falls off, while the new one comes in on the right. And this is where we're going to start seeing price increases, more likely, with regards to tariffs. They haven't hit yet, but they're going to be rolling through. And they'll be coming on the right. Why is this important? This is going to roll for the next 12 months. So that a year from now, which will be what month? September of 26, as we head into the midterm elections, we're going to have inflation above 3%. That's not good if you're Donald Trump. Next page is what's going on with gas prices. This is on a national total. And the bottom line is, Donald Trump said he's going to reduce prices. He's been in office now for what, 7 months? Do you see much of a change in gas prices? Not really. It's a little bit higher, but not much. The next one is dealing with housing affordability. Interest rates have come down with Trump. That's because the economy is cooling. All right? That's a lot of mortgage rates to come down. But how much does that mean to the person who borrows $100,000? Interest rates have moved from when he first came to office of 6.96. They're now about 6.3. That means it's changed, the monthly payments changed about $30. That works out for $100,000 on a 30-year mortgage. That's $1 savings per day. The whole loan, okay, for $100,000. So when he talks about getting housing prices down, he's going to try and do it through interest rates. It's not going to get much of a lift. Next item on this happy inflation number. What we have here is lettuce. Anybody here eat salads? Yeah? Okay. Have you seen what's going on with lettuce prices? Okay. You can nod if you want to. All right. Last month it went up by 25%. In 1 month alone, remember ICE was outraiding some of the California lettuce fields? Well, we're seeing it now as consumers. We're now seeing it in our inflation numbers too. In addition to that, it takes a while, not all of the supermarkets all have launched out. But you can see like Winn-Dixie, they stay the same. Publix actually adjusted to what the competition is doing. The next one is milk, okay? Why do we track on milk? Because milk's something that everybody uses, basically. It's either that or Budweiser, so I went with milk. But if you're looking for prices to come down, I don't see much of a trend here after 7 months of Trump being in office. So this is good information to have when talking to other Democrats. If you happen to run into somebody who starts talking about, oh, inflation's under control, things of that nature, you ask, wait a minute, his promise was not just get inflation under control, but reduce prices. Here's the numbers right here in the villages of the 4 largest supermarkets. When we grab this data on a monthly basis for this, but also every quarter, we grab 30 different products and do the same thing, okay? Again, we're trying to track on individual products that are being fed. The identical product is found in all 4 stores, so we have apple and apple and apple across the board. Finally, eggs. What's going on with eggs? Remember the avian flu? Well, it peaked. The prices peaked in March, or pardon me, April. The green, see the high point? And they did come down afterwards. Okay, we're past the worst part of the avian flu. But I want to point out what's gone on this past month of August. Prices, I thought were going to come down further. They have not on eggs. And eggs are used not just for, an omelet. They're used for a lot of different items when you're trying to both, put together something in the kitchen or going out for a restaurant. It's a commodity, it's an item that hits across the board. Finally, what we have, what's gone on with egg prices over a long time period, going back from 1980 through now. Even though prices have come down, they still remain considerably elevated compared to any other time period we've had going back, 45 years. So this whole thing about what sort of progress is being made, here's the scorecard. This is what you can remind friends to show this is the reality of what's going on. This information comes from Bureau of Statistics. This particular slide comes from the Fed in St. Louis. And then finally, this is the past 3 presidents, Democrats, and they all inherited a lousy economy. I think we're going to have a 4th seat up there, okay? Because each time Republicans got into office, we've seen a couple things go on. Jobs going down, inflation going up, people dissatisfied. That's why I think I'm modestly optimistic about what's going on economically and how it's going to help with the midterm elections coming up. That's the reason why Trump is putting so much pressure on the Federal Reserve so they can lower interest rates and say, the heck with inflation if it happens after the midterms. That doesn't bother him. He just wants to get through the midterms. Because I want to point out, the midterms of 2018, that's when that's when Trump lost the House. Okay? And I was like, that's how Nancy Pelosi came in. All right? And the key thing that took place then is interest rates, mortgage rates in particular, went through the 5% rate at that point for that time period in November of 2018. That's why the economy is so important. And you can see this thing happening months, if not a year ahead of time. And this is the reason why Trump is doing what he's doing. So with that said, I will stop the economics portion. I'll stop. You can applaud if you want to. Oh, Bill's speaking. I do want to point out something else. We mentioned about the umbrellas. And I got a sad story. We have an empty box. We sold out there. So we don't have that. And Rick, I want to introduce our next speaker. And I'll let Rick give me, come on up. Rick is a licensed psychologist and is the president, or was the president of the North Carolina chapter for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Currently, he's an adjunct professor, or psychology professor, and a member of the College of Florida Keys. What's that? Rick.
All of that was pretty accurate, except that I wasn't in North Carolina, I was in North Dakota. I want to thank you all for giving me a few minutes of your time this morning to talk about suicide prevention. This is September, and September is the National Month of Suicide Awareness and Prevention. And I am the president of the North Florida chapter of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And so the club here was generous enough to give me a few minutes to speak with you. Now, I am a proud member of this club. I've been a part of the Democratic Party for quite a long time, actually. But today's talk is going to be as nonpartisan as I can make it, because I'm representing the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which is nonpartisan. So, let's, next slide. Oh. Yeah, you know, I suspect that everybody here is pretty well informed, and you know that suicide is a major national health issue. For last year, I have numbers for 2024, I believe it was. 2024, over 49,000 Americans took their lives with suicide. That's a lot of folks. That is a lot of folks, and it makes suicide one of the leading causes of death in the United States. I think number 9 or number 11, depending on which recent year you look at. Well, that's pretty high in the rankings. Now, when I talk to groups, a lot of times I say, so who do you think are most likely? Who is at highest risk? And they talk about the teenagers and the young people. And it's true that that group, suicide is second or third leading cause of death. That's high. But that's not the most at-risk group. Want to know who the most at-risk group is? Us. Older people. And if you look at the demographics, the very highest risk is among us old white guys. That's, I think, of some significance to the villages. Now, when I said I would do this, the note that I got back said, you know, we're all kind of older people, so, and I'm sure that it may be a little challenging to read any of these numbers. But those are Florida's numbers. And I can't read them here. 3,400 and it's blurry, but 25 people in Florida died last year from suicide. And I have a group, if you can go online and look in Florida's kind of medical directory, and they will give you a breakdown even by county. Sumter isn't the worst county, but it's among the worst. It's not at the bottom, but it is among the high-risk counties. Where I used to live down in the Florida Keys, they frequently are number 1. Yeah. Rural counties tend to be higher. Urban areas tend to be lower, which surprises some people. So, AFSP, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, is a national organization, and we are trying to find ways to bring down that number. We do it we take a number of different approaches, if you will, to try and bring down that number. The first is public awareness, and you know, here I am talking. Second is research. Third, support for suicide, for survivors of suicide, and finally, advocacy. Next. Awareness. We have a program that we offer nationally. It was developed by psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, and also scientists and public media specialists to educate people about suicide. It looks at risk. It looks at how to identify people who are at risk, how to approach them and talk with them, and things that you can do to save a life. The program is called Talk Saves Lives, and we will share it with any group that wants to bring us in. It takes about an hour to go through, and it is actually an award-winning program. It was designed and is being presented around the country by mostly people who are not mental health professionals, are not, you know, experts. It was designed to be presented by anybody who got the training, basically, and was able to do it. So if you have a group that you're a member of, contact me. We can get you a speaker to tell you about Talk Saves Lives and to share that information. It's a pretty good program. Now, I've got to tell you that the instructions for giving it, say if you're a professional, you're not talking as a professional, you're talking as a regular person. But I've been a licensed psychologist since 1983. That's 42 years. I've worked in mental health another 10 years, so it's hard not to talk as a professional. But I did my best. Next slide. We also do walks. Now, this is a photograph I took in New York City. I talk about this because as a psychologist, I've been involved in mental health and advocacy for mental health for half a decade. But in reality, I'm also a survivor of suicide loss. And in 2006, my wife, who is a nursing professional, was looking through one of her journals, and there was this ad from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention about an overnight walk in New York City, 20 miles. And she looked at me and said, "We ought to do this." And I looked at my overweight stomach and thought about 20 miles in New York City, and I said, "I'm not sure." But 3 days later, I said, "Okay, let's do it." And we did. And we walked in New York City in 2007. That was my first real direct contact with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And I found it a very healing experience to walk and to talk to people about my experience, the loss that I had, and about the work of AFSP. We had to get a lot of donations. Now we do walks. There are still overnight walks. In fact, my youngest daughter just walked in the overnight walk in New York City. I'm very proud of her. Did that this summer. But we do local walks, and it gives us a chance to talk about what's going on. It gives us a chance to share with the news. It gives us a chance to speak to groups and promote mental health. Florida's got a lot of work to do in terms of mental health. Florida is not in good shape. Next slide. So another thing that we do is support research. Now, these walks raise funds, right? 50% of those funds stay local, 50% go to the national organization. The funds that go to the national organization are used for prevention programs, national prevention programs, national services, and also for research. To date, AFSP has donated, or not donated actually, given over $3 million, $30 million in grants for research. And it's hard science research. It's not soft little stuff. It's major studies. This is looking at molecular changes that can be associated with suicide risk based on people's environment and experience. Next. Advocacy means going to lawmakers. It means going to various groups. And so we've gone to the state in Tallahassee. I went to Washington, D.C. along with a bunch of other advocates. And we worked for the Saving Veterans Lives Act and the Dr. Laura Green Reauthorization Act. The Veterans Act was legislation that's before Congress to implement greater training for veterans as they leave the force and providing them with lock boxes for guns. Because we know that if we break the chain of thought that a person who is contemplating suicide or starting to take action, if we can stop them even for just a few minutes if we can change their line of thought for just a moment, we have a good chance of saving a life. And so we need a little bit of money to do that, and we're asking Congress to do that. Dr. Laura Green Reauthorization Act. People are frequently very surprised to know that healthcare providers are among the highest risk groups for suicide. And that act involves supporting a variety of services to healthcare providers to try to save their lives. 988. That's the mental health crisis line. It is a major step forward in preventing suicide and has been instituted nationwide recently. We need funding. Florida does not yet have enduring funding for the program. It has national funding, although some of that was taken away. Also, you know, I'm very proud of AFSP because it has been very out front about support for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We know that people who are isolated, people who are rejected by society, are at higher risk. Minorities, the LGBTQ plus crowd. We know that those groups, if they are not given full rights and recognition, are hurt. And so, while we couldn't necessarily lobby for that, we did push for it. So, Dr. Jerome Adams came and spoke with us, and you may remember him. He was the Surgeon General under Donald Trump. He, in his first term, he started by saying, I'm very aware that many of the people here in this crowd are not fans of the guy who appointed me. And he went on to express his concern about everything from what's happened with the CDC to vaccination. He gave a very good talk. Actually, he wasn't the scheduled speaker. He just happened to be in the hotel, found that we were meeting there, and wanted to talk with us. Senator Jack Reed, you may be more familiar with. He's a great guy, and he was given an award. Next. And there I am. Yeah, I said this was nonpartisan. There I am with Congressman Webster in a posed picture. He did speak. Thanks. So, I appreciate the time. I do want to say that the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, we have a group here in the Villages, and we are having our second annual Out of the Darkness Walk to prevent suicide. It is scheduled for October 18th, and at Lake Sumter Park. I think that code will work. I also have some of these brochures and such on a table back there. I would love to have some of you join us, and please consider that. And if you have a group that you are a part of, consider having them be a part of it. This is an important movement, and it is a major activity. So I thank you for letting me take some of your time, and I'll get back to being a Democrat now.
Thank you, Rick. Rick, I just have one question for you. If I recall from your talk just now, that there's 45,000 fatalities, people commit suicide per year?
49.
49. Okay, to put that in context, that works out to about 125 people a day. We're here for about an hour. There's 5 other Americans that will have committed suicide while we're having this meeting. 5 every hour. Another way to look at it, we just had the 24th anniversary of 9/11. In a course of 24 days, the number of people that have committed suicide will equal how many people perished 9/11. And think how this country came together over 9/11 and acted together to do something about it. Okay? So in 24 days, that equals the number of people that perished. And thank you for bringing the stats.
17 veterans.
17 veterans a day. Julian. I'd like to introduce Julian, who's going to be speaking on behalf of Ash Ma. Come on. And Julian is the vice chair of the Sumter County Democratic Executive Committee, so he's very important. And he's also a leader at the phone banking contributed to his place. So if you want to know about how to get the vote out, Julian's the guy. And he's also coordinating the presence at the Bushnell Fall Festival. So with that, Julian.
Everybody hear me? Yeah. Oh, good. So now I know how President Obama felt after he spoke after Michelle. My talk is called Communication and Outreach for the 2026 election. As Florida Democrats, we are very fortunate to be members of the Village's Democratic Club and part of the Democratic Party of Sumter County. My wife Ann initially complained about leaving Connecticut, a strong Democratic state, to move to Sumter County with a strong Republican base. I pointed out that each Sumter County Democratic voter and volunteer is equally important to communicate and reach out to voters, to explain what was happening in their lives by a Republican-controlled Florida government. Our message is, when you vote and elect a Democrat, individuals are more likely to have greater affordability to purchase and an opportunity for achieving greater success. I served as chairman of the Democratic Executive Committee, the official name of the Sumter County Democratic Party, when the Village Democratic Club had only 90 members. And of course now we have over 1,600. Back in that day, Democrats were afraid to admit that they even existed in the villages. To enhance our image, we had a big celebration at Katie Bell's. That was a restaurant that brings for those who don't know. With the financial help of the Democratic Club, we opened up our first office in Wildwood. We had our first golf cart parade and created a huge Democratic float in the Bushnell Fall Festival parade. It was so exciting, and we were proud to show our presence and talk to voters about our democratic values. By the way, the next Bushnell Fall Festival is coming up on October 18th, and we need volunteers to man a Democratic table and give out Democratic literature, free stuff, Ash Mawa's political buttons, and cold water. Democrats in the villages, through their hard work as volunteers, have made their Sumter County Democratic Party's reputation in the state of Florida a force to be respected. As leaders of the Florida Democratic Party's Small County Coalition, we represent people who are devoted to communicating with Democratic and independent voters important ideas throughout the state of Florida. Our presumptive Democratic candidates, David Jolly, Ash Mawa for state senator, and Barbie Hardin-Hall, are exemplary. Our hard work as Democratic volunteers and our reputation for organizing and getting voters to know important issues affecting their lives is the reason voters come out to vote in Sumter County. We also work to get out the vote in other small counties in Florida who are not as organized as Sumter County Democrats. Now, Democratic candidates running in primaries and general elections do not miss coming to visit us in the villages. When the first gentleman, Dale Anhalt, came to the villages, that was a thank you recognition for all the Democratic impact we had, not only in Florida, but nationally, when social media spread the news about our massive golf cart parades. We have Democratic candidates who need our help. We must volunteer to help get them elected. If David Jolly becomes our Democratic candidate for governor, he would have a profound change in Florida's policies towards public education, environment, climate change, housing affordability, and job opportunities. If Bobby Hall became our Democratic candidate for Congress, she would have a profound change in protecting our children's medical needs. Protecting us from the financial mismanagement of Florida's Congress, making our homeowners insurance affordable again. We cannot afford to miss the opportunity to support Ash Marwa as our Democratic candidate for the special state Senate election in District 11 on December 9th. Early voting is a week before that. As Precinct 105 captain, I plan to introduce Democrats and independents to our candidates by asking them to attend a house party and listen to our candidates at meet and greets. There are all kinds of ways to volunteer. I understand that not everyone has the physical ability or capacity to talk to people by canvassing house to house. People can come down to Democratic headquarters and pick up postcards that need to be written to voters about our candidates. People can come down to Democratic headquarters and make Democratic buttons for Ash Marwa. We need volunteers to do that. We have a machine that makes the buttons, but we need people to make the buttons. I oversee the phone team in this election, and I'm forming a phone team now. All we need to do is talk to Democrats on your computer, using it like a phone. Presently, we need to alert them to re-register to vote by mail and recheck and update their signature before the next election. So a phone team message sounds something like this. Hi, Democrat. My name is Julian. I am a volunteer for the Sumter County Democratic Party. Are you aware that you must re-enroll in vote by mail for each election cycle? Are you aware that Ash Marwa is running for state senate in a special election on December 9th? If you need to set up vote by mail, go to Sumter County Supervisor Election website or call them. Go on Ash Marwa's website to learn about our Democratic candidate. Thank you for your time and participation. That was easy, right? In the last election, we had over 50 people on the phone team that I personally trained to make friendly calls to Democrats and left-leaning independents. When we talk about winning elections, it doesn't just happen on its own. It happens because people like to step up. Every single person here has a unique skill that can make a difference. Maybe you're great at graphic design, social media, or event planning. Maybe you're good with numbers, data, spreadsheets. Maybe you are a strong communicator. Whatever your talent is, we need you. Remember, this is Florida. When President Obama won Florida by 100,000 votes, 25,000 of those votes came from Sumter County Democrats who volunteered and worked hard. Early voting in Sumter County for Ash Marwa's state Senate campaign starts November 29th. Please get involved now to help elect Ash to the state Senate. And please go to the Democratic table. If someone would raise their hand where the Democratic table is, there's Chris. People in back. Please go to the Democratic table to volunteer and sign up and check off the skills that you are comfortable and capable of doing. So that's it.
Thank you, Julian. I didn't realize you needed somebody who likes to work with numbers. I'll be there on the team. Glad to help out. Our last speaker is Kat Margaux, and she's the president of the Florida Youth Democrats. She's involved with the youth leadership, campaign strategy, and statewide political organizing. Kat.
is Kat Margaux. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm honored to serve as the president of the Florida Young Democrats. First, I really do have to thank all of you for coming out and the Democratic Club here in the Villages for inviting me here today. I'm so excited to address such an incredible audience. But more than that, I really want to thank you because I think the conversation that we're going to have today is something that has long gone unspoken that we need to bring to light and have more conversations around. It's not lost on me why you guys invited me here. You're probably asking the same question that the entire Democratic Party is asking, which is, what are we going to do about young voters? How do we get them to pay attention, reach them, listen to them, and more importantly, what do we need to do to make them feel like stepping into the voting booth is worth their time? I did this work, frankly, because I believe that young people aren't the problem. I actually believe that young people are the solution to many of the problems that we have in politics today. But the system that we have in place, our system, is asking too much of them. It's asking them to prove themselves, prove that they show up, and prove that they matter. Before I get into that and where I think we can start meeting them, I want to introduce our organization, the Florida Young Democrats. I'm very excited to be joined with our communications director, Sebastian Martinez, who does incredible work making sure that we can do the outreach needed to our young voters. Florida Young Democrats is more than a youth club or a caucus. It is a political force that's focused on four main things. First, building a broad coalition of diverse young people to amplify youth voices in the political process. Second, and arguably more important, educating young people on politics, on power, on how the system works, and how they can change it. Third, electing young Democrats and youth-aligned candidates at every level in the government. Not just statewide, but we're talking about the school board, county commission, city council, right? The seats that matter. And last, fighting for legislation that benefits young people and the future for our entire country. What does that look like in action? What do we actually do? I don't know if you heard, but recently we were honored to elect Florida's very first Gen Z Democrat into the State House. Not only is he the first Gen Z Democrat in the State House, he's the first Gen Z Democrat in the Florida State Legislature overall. His name is Rashawn Young, and he just won a special election in House District 40. We asked Rashawn after his primary, where his election was really won, because this was a bluer seat, how much of his victory he thanks to his local Young Democrats chapter. He said a minimum of 40% for the Orange County Young Democrats alone. Why? Why is that the case? Because in a race where only 9.7 thousand votes were cast, the Young Democrats of Orange County knocked 4,000 of them. On top of that, we had a day of action for Rashawn Young, where Young Democrats across the nation came to knock doors, make phone calls, and connect with voters on the first day of early voting for Rashawn. So that's inside the party, or that's outside the party. What do we do internally? I think this is the key question. It's very clear that we have a disconnect between the party itself and young people. So educating them on how the party works is vital. That's why ensuring that our young people know how to organize and have the tools to do so is key. More than that, we're teaching them about key positions like precinct captains. I know our past speaker was a precinct captain, or state committee people. What do those things do, and how can we use those opportunities to influence our party to be something that we love? As seats open, we've been able to encourage our active members to fill spots. We even just picked up a state committee seat in Savannah County that now belongs to a young Democratic woman. To add to that, FID was recently leading an effort to pass a resolution through the DNC at their past meeting. Our treasurer and Florida DNC member, Allison Minerly, filed Resolution 18, a resolution on Gaza. We know this is a key issue for our constituency, but more than that, the Democratic base overall only agrees with our standpoint on this issue by about 7 to 8%. That's nothing. So our Democratic base doesn't agree with where we're landing on an issue. We should make change. We should do something. And that's the initiative that Allison took. Through this initiative, we were able to help folks understand some of the work that the DNC does. What does their platform mean? What do we elect these people to be DNC members for? And what is their role in the structure of the party and the way that we see candidates represented? Through this, we were able to send more than 200,000 emails in support of the resolution to DNC members. We helped actually connect young people to who was representing them in the party and allow them to make their voice heard. This is not something that we historically see with the DNC. We don't see this many people reaching out to their members and telling them, hey, we want this thing passed, we care about this issue, we want you to represent us in this way. But it's key, that's what we elect people for, that's democracy. And speaking up for what you care about to those who represent you is the pillar of democracy as we know it. Unfortunately, the resolution didn't pass, but our voices didn't go unnoticed. Chair Ken Martin created a special committee on the issue because young people made the issue impossible to ignore. And that's what happens when young people get involved. I'm sure you guys have seen, they make a lot of noise. But with that noise, they make change, and quite frankly, they make history. To better understand what young people want, I think you need a better picture of where they're coming from, and the experience that they've had growing up in this country, and how it influences their viewpoints now. Something that I know has been very prominent this week is the fact that my generation is the generation raised around gun violence. We've done active shooter drills since elementary school. I remember my own school practicing lockdowns. When I was in high school, I'll never forget the moment that a string was attached to the ceiling of all of my classrooms following the Parkland shooting. You see, this neon orange string was added across the ceiling of all of the classrooms to show the blind spot. All of our doors had windows. The orange string marks the one sliver of space where when you look through the window from every angle, you couldn't see within. And this wasn't how classrooms were built, right? Architects didn't create rooms with this in mind, so they didn't think about the size of the sliver that we would need to protect the amount of students in a classroom. So when we did our lockdowns after Parkland and our active shooter drills, we were all expected to pile into the sliver beyond the orange line. And the unfortunate truth is that there were many classrooms that I knew I was more likely to die in than others. And I began to wish that if a school shooting happened to me, if a threat happened to me that was real, I was in one classroom over another, that I was with one teacher over another, that I was in one subject over another. Whether this was because of classroom size or the amount of room we had beyond the screen. We just simply couldn't fit. And I knew that myself or others would die around me because there wasn't enough room, not even if our lives depended on it. And this isn't a story that's unique to me. This is a tale of my generation and the story of the generations that will come behind me. Every day, 125 people are shot and killed by guns. Twice as many are wounded and countless lives are changed. To be clear, this is the leading cause of death for young people. More than cancer, more than car accidents, guns. And yet politicians still call background checks controversial. They tiptoe around gun reform because of the NRA. And for myself and the people who make up the generation around me, we're tired of being told to stay safe by people who have the power to make us safer and don't use it. I want you to imagine being a teenager or a young person today, looking and knowing those numbers, feeling the fear and the frustration and wondering why no one listens to them. And I want you to imagine how I feel today, knowing the news that we've seen this past week, knowing what threatens young people who are willing to speak up about politics on both sides of the aisles, and the threat that persists for them and for all of us. Another troubling fact for our young people is the inheritance of a dying planet. More than 85% of Americans age 18 to 25 worry about climate change. Over 60% say climate anxiety impacts their daily lives. Many of us are skipping having kids, changing careers, even deciding where we live based on where we think the planet will actually be livable in 20 years. We see wildfires in California. Gosh, I mean, you guys know about the hurricanes here in Florida, I'm sure. And yet, some of our leaders, our highest leaders, are calling climate change a hoax. They can't believe in the science and the facts. All while they tend to take oil money. Makes me wonder what they really believe. This is not the future that anyone should inherit, but it's still the one being handed to us. And in case you're wondering, because I do frequently get asked, yes, one of young people's top issues is what impacts them almost the very most is the same thing as everybody else. We're in economic despair. The beautiful thing, but difficult thing about my caucus is the unique time of life that all of them are in. They're pursuing an education, they're starting their families, getting their careers rolling, maybe getting married, moving out of their parents' homes, building their lives on their own for sort of the first time. But it also means, unfortunately, that they're having to face the facts of the world right now for the first time, in many cases. Rent skyrocketing, wages don't keep up, student debt is crushing people's dreams and ability to get higher education, healthcare costs are forcing impossible choices. Young people are graduating with thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt with no guarantee of getting a job that pays them a living wage. We see young families living paycheck to paycheck with little to no safety net, if any at all. And through all of this, we hear it. Young people don't care about politics. They don't care about what's going on in the world right now, but I promise that we do. Honestly, I think we care too much. I think the problem is that we don't trust the system that asks for our votes, but doesn't do anything to earn our loyalty. So what do young people want? I promise you, it is not the trendy hashtag, it is not the fun slogan. They want three simple things: action, accountability, and honesty. They want climate policy to be treated like the public health emergency that it is, not a talking point. They want gun reform that doesn't bow to the NRA. They want affordable housing, health care, clean energy, and leaders who stand up instead of fold under the pressure. Polls show that over 70% want bold climate action. Most support universal health care. More than 60% want stronger gun laws, and a growing number support labor unions, debt relief, and taxing billionaires. Young people are clear about what they want. These are majority statistics, no? The question is, are we ready to listen? These are facts that any of you can find on the internet, that any of the party can find on the internet. But are they willing to absorb them and change what we do to embrace the new generation? We spend way too much on this fight of the left versus the right. And I'm gonna tell you, this is not the fight that I think we are in anymore. The real fight is the top versus the bottom. The wealthy and powerful. We are in a fight of the wealthy and powerful versus the rest of us. Young people see billionaires flying into space while teachers have to live out of their cars. They see pharma CEOs rake in billions while they also have to watch their friends ration insulin. They see police armed with tanks while schools literally do not have paper towels, right? It's the powerful and the plentiful versus the struggling. It's the few versus the many. It's those that have the luxury to ignore our unsafe communities versus those who cannot. It's those who are paid off to keep quiet about our planet, and those who don't have clean air to breathe or water to drink. and those whose wealth allows them to overlook teachers, students, mothers, families living paycheck to paycheck. As the quote goes, the real divide in America is not the left versus the right. It's the people who own the system and those who do not. Young people aren't picking sides in the old argument of the left versus the right. They want to flip the whole system. What does this mean? When you hear about young voters not turning out, why is it? Because they don't connect with the candidate. It's because no one made them feel important enough. And it's because they can't tell the difference between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And that is because we have historically refused to accept that we need to uplift candidates and uplift people and uplift policies that fight the fight of the top versus the bottom rather than the left versus the right. The Democratic Party must prioritize all people at the bottom rather than all people to the left. That is democratic government. That is the government we are looking for, and that is the government we need to demand. So, what do we do with all this information? Sounds like you guys are in agreement. Sounds like you guys are understanding the fight ahead of us and what we need to do and what we need to start pushing the party to do. To me, I think we listen to this knowledge and we use it. We catch people's attention by communicating with young people on the issues that matter to them in the way that they need to be communicated with. So when we talk about economic despair, whose fault is that? The top, no? The top creates issues for all of us left at the bottom. And it's okay to recognize some of our Democrats are in the top, no? Some of our Democrats are up there, and they leave some of us behind. They forget what it's like for common folk, and what it's like to have to buy groceries and care about the prices, find a coupon that manages to make laundry detergent affordable suddenly. Have you guys seen these laundry detergent prices, team? I'm not gonna lie, they're tough. But we need to knock their doors. And we need to know what we need to discuss with young people. When we make literature, we need to know what issues to clearly outline and how to outline them, and we need to fill the messaging gap. I don't know if you've noticed, this is a hot topic in the Young Democrats. We don't have a lot of proficient communicators here in Florida. We don't have a lot of folks making these powerful ads that we see out of Texas even, another red state. And we need to figure out the best way to reach young people. It's not TikTok. I have to point this out. This is the most important thing I can tell you. It's not TikTok. They've banned TikTok on their college campuses. I don't know if you know this. Right? You guys don't know this? They've banned TikTok on the college campuses. The key is not TikTok. I have to bring this up. They won't allow the internet on college campuses to access TikTok. We can't do TikTok. But we can still use Instagram, we can still use other platforms, but it's about the type of message we put forward. Again, all of this doesn't have to do with Democrats are bad. None of this has to do with Democrats are bad and necessarily that we have to change everything. But we have to change our approach to politics if we want to invite young people in. Because right now they're on the outskirts. They feel politically abandoned. We need to knock doors, have campus events. I know many of you have been bringing up campus events to me. We need to register voters, but more importantly, we need to educate them and teach them how to use their power and that their vote is worth using. And teach them how to use it and when to use it. Now, we have all of this handled. All of these things I just mentioned are the same things I mentioned that FYD does. How can you guys help? That's the real question you guys are asking, right? What can you do? What can your individual self do to help move young people forward and move the movement and momentum that we have forward? First, you can support FYD or your local Young Dem chapter with real resources, not just good intentions. Real stuff, real stuff. This golf cart situation, incredible. Incredible. Do you know that whenever we are on college campuses on election day, we try to golf cart people around to make sure that they can get to their polling location? I bet if you guys have an active college chapter in your area, they could really use a couple extra golf carts to make sure that our votes get cast. Or it means putting a little bit of money forward, or this incredible poster system that everybody's been telling me about that you guys have. And you guys should know that you guys have a Marion County and Lake County Young Democrats chapter. You guys have Young Dems here. You need to fight for policies that matter to young people. These things I just talked about, the environment, right? Gun reform, economic reform. There are loads of other things I didn't get the opportunity to talk about that are key. Education, of course. Abortion, rights and access, reproductive freedom overall, universal health care. All of these different things. Social justice overall, LGBTQ plus rights, workers' rights are very key to young people. You need to be willing to fight for these things, not just when young people are there. It's a pretty clear fact that young people don't get a seat in every room and at every table. But a lot of you guys do. A lot of our young at heart people have the seats at the table that one day young people will take up. But until that day comes, until we get a seat at that table or a space in that room, you guys are our avenue to change. You guys have the buy-in from your peers. This may shock you, but when I talk to folks in the older generation, many of them don't think I know what I'm talking about. Many of them think that I am too young, too uneducated, not enough experience to be talking about democratic politics. I have run elections and won elections, and people still think that I am an intern. And that will be true for a while. But you all have community buy-in. You guys have friends who have power in different places, and you have voices, and we need you to use them. We need you to make sure that you push for policy that we care about. And also, we need to make sure that you guys are pushing for a young person to come into that room, right? It takes your one voice of saying, isn't it weird we don't have any young people here? To start that conversation. That's how we begin inviting young people into spaces. Isn't it just like kind of odd that there's no young people in this conversation? This is pretty key. It's that simple. It's really, 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 truly that simple. In Arkansas, they just got young people to start serving on behalf of their Florida high school, college, and young Dems on their state committee. They didn't have that before, we do, which is incredible. Someone started that conversation before us, though. Someone in that committee had to say, this would be a good idea if we did this. At our most recent central committee, it was not myself, but a person of the older generation who said, we should make sure that we dedicate this amount of money to youth outreach for the Florida Democratic Party. It was that type of allyship that made sure we got that line item in the budget for the FDP. That is what we need from you guys all the time. We really, truly can't do it ourselves. We can do all of this organizing for the people around us, all of our peers, all of my incredible organizers that I have, and students and young professionals. Peer outreach is key for them, but peer outreach is key for you guys too. The Florida Democratic Party is made up of a whole bunch of you guys and very few of me. And if we want that to be more equitable, it takes you guys being willing to pass the torch and making sure that it happens. We can only see more youth power if you want to see more youth power, and you are committed truly to the bit of making sure we see youth power. And the last thing that I would ask you to do is to stop expecting young people to prove that they care. You need to prove to them that you care for them first. I know we just heard a spiel earlier of what you might say on the phone. I don't know if you guys were really tuned in on that. But the ask there was, come out and vote, which is great. It's key. We have to ask people to come out and vote. But we're 11 months out from the primary election next year, right? You guys have loads of time to call people and knock doors and say, how can we help you? What resources do you maybe need right now? Do you need any help with anything? I'm your direct avenue to the Democratic Party. How can we provide you a resource? What issue do you care about? What issue do you want to see us advocate more about? Do you have a candidate that you like right now? It doesn't have to be from here. Who's catching your eye? Is there an issue we can uplift to candidates to make sure they better represent you? How can we connect you to your local official? Do you know who your local official is? Can we help you figure that out? You guys can do more of that to fill the gap and make politics less transactional. And make it to where we don't have to always be asking something of people. We can allow them to ask something of us. That's what the Democratic Party is about. That's what being part of the infrastructure is. That's what being a precinct captain is. You're supposed to be the point person for your Democrats elected in your, or not your elected, but Democrats who live in your area, and make sure that the elected ones know what the heck is going on. This is something you guys need to invest time in. This is something that we are investing time in. Making sure we connect with voters in a non-transactional way and allowing us to be an available resource because we can and because we should. And truly last, I think I said that was the last thing. This is the true last thing. Do more of this. Organize your own people. We can do our young people stuff, like I said. We can find those people, we can find our college students, we can do all that stuff. I don't want you to have to worry about it. But what we can't do is collect your peers in a room like this. We can't organize the villages for you. You can. We can't organize all of Marion County, Lee County, Lake County, all these different counties that we have across the state. You can though. And you can organize the people in your age group that are willing to do the work and make sure they get out to vote too. Because if just young people turn out to vote, I'll tell you this, not enough. It is not enough. It is not enough. We need you guys to keep showing up. We need you guys to make sure your voters don't become disenfranchised. We need you guys to make sure that the issues that are key to you don't get lost in the wind somewhere. So while we handle our business, you guys please keep handling yours. This is incredible. I've never been to a Democratic club that's had this many people. I hope you guys have. I try to go to a lot of them. I'm a staffer, so I feel like I'm like stuck going to a lot of these. But I've never seen one this large and this organized. It's incredible, incredible work. So please, please, please keep doing this. If I could ask you one thing, actually, it would be keep doing this. Because as we handle our business, again, we need you to handle yours. So, stop trying to go viral on the internet. Stop thinking that's the solution. We talked through that, right? Make sure you support young people. Be the voice in the room that we cannot be. Organize yourselves. If you want extra bonus, help fundraise for a youth candidate. And when a young person gets loud, even if it makes you nervous, please have their back. When we keep saying that young people are the future, I have to break the news to you. The future is already here. We're already leading as much as we can. But the question is for you all, will you stand with them or will you stand in their way? We've seen our rights stripped away, we've lost our friends to violence, we've inherited debt and disaster, and still young people are showing up. They're organizing, they're running for office, they're getting elected into office, and they are building something better. So, the question at the beginning was, what are we going to do about young voters? I want to ask you a question for you to repeat instead. Let's start asking, what are we going to do with young voters, for young voters, alongside young voters, to change our country together? Because if we do that, we can show up, we can lead, and we can win together. Thanks. Thank you all. I think we have time for a couple questions. Do we? Okay, perfect. I don't know if anybody had any questions. I think there's a mic in the center. for anyone who wants to ask, and I will be happy to do my best. I must clarify, young people are not a monolith, so bear with me. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, that was the most refreshing, progressive perspective. Really democratic party has to go to survive, because there's a real dichotomy, as I mentioned earlier to you, there's a real dichotomy at the moment between the, what I refer to as the right of center conservative, DNC versus the, where the party needs to go from your perspective. So I wish you the best. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
My question, thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I'm new to the Democratic Party in the villages. I've been a Democrat all my life and whatever. But what you said was so important, because I've never had a face like yours to the message that you're giving. It was such a good speech that if your communications director could maybe package that into, for real, not even like the whole speech, but he'll know how to do it, right? Just like smaller, Facebook ready, because the one thing I want to add is that the Villages is really big with Facebook.
Okay.
True?
Facebook. Okay.
So right, because our generation, well now I live here to help my mom, and I had no idea how many people communicate on Facebook. So if we have little videos of you, so that, because we're so busy right now, like just in life with all the noise,
Yeah.
that having something a little more simple, like this person is active in our party and delivering this to Florida.
Right.
There are things that we can do to support her and her group, right? And all we need to do right now, let's say, is put some of those messages on Facebook, and then as we continue to get information from you about how to help, we can disseminate that.
Yeah. We would be happy to, and I introduced you guys to Sebastian. I didn't introduce you guys to Alan. Hi, Alan. He's taking pictures and videos for us. So as much as we can provide those to you guys, we will. We're trying to do more videos on social media about these types of things. So we very much will provide them as much as possible, especially on Facebook. I'm hearing Facebook. Put that in the notes, Sebastian. Facebook. Yes.
Thank you for being here. I know you had to travel, and we love that you came to speak to us and the message that you have, but I'm a little perplexed. I don't know if anyone else behind me is perplexed. The Democratic platform is climate change, gun control, choice, unions, diversity, equity, and inclusion. What is not getting through to young people about that? You started cold, because this is, I was a teacher for 33 years. I was part of those active drills. I would have to keep my children safe. 33 years. So what part of our platform doesn't speak? Oh, wait, it also came from our platform for student debt erasure. So what, I don't understand when young people get in front of me and say, we don't see the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. I don't understand it. It's so clear to me.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak on this.
Sorry.
I think, no, I am
Sorry,
sorry.
I love it. When the President of the United States gets up and says he doesn't want to fix things, or he says stuff like, oh well, or he does what he does every day, I don't see it. Is it just about Gaza?
No, it's not. I'm happy to speak to this. So I think a lot of this, again, is what I was speaking on earlier, which is that when we speak as Democrats, we do a lot of this left versus right messaging. But the problem is that we spend a lot of time talking about Republican bad. Republicans are
I didn't say one bad thing.
No,
I said
no,
all
no.
those good things.
If you'll provide me just a moment to
No, no,
answer. We talk about Republican bad a lot. We don't talk that much about what Democrats are doing good. We don't talk about wins from the Democrats that frequently. We're not really good at messaging about how great Democrats are and what they're doing and what they're accomplishing. What young people struggle with is they don't think that Democrats are getting any wins. They don't hear about the wins. They hear, yes, we want gun reform. They're not hearing what we're doing about it. They're hearing that we want to cancel student debt. They're not seeing the change, right? So even though we may feel, especially as people inside the party who are immersed in this for life, we feel like it should be very clear. And to me, it's very clear.
Messaging again.
It's messaging, but on top of that, it's, again, what I said earlier, there's no need for us to deny it. There are many Democrats in our party now that are in the top when young people want to fight for the bottom. There are a lot of Democrats elected now that can't connect with young voters because they aren't in touch with the experience of young voters. And that's very hard for them to be a part of. Young people are emotionally driven. They are so frequently driven by the heart, driven by experiences, driven by emotions, and driven by individual issues. If we can't connect with them like that, and our only expectation is that they understand that Republicans are bad, we are never going to get young voters to vote for us.
So you say it's just messaging with the Democratic Party?
I don't think it's just messaging. I think that we have a lot of Democrats that fold. We just had our, we have school boards across our entire state of Florida that have elected Democratic sitting school board members, even though they're nonpartisan. They are Democrats, they are affiliated Democrats, and they ran on Democratic-ish platforms, and they're not voting against book bans. They're not actually doing the thing that we elected them to do, and they're not actually standing on the principles that we elected them for. This creates a struggle for young voters. Not only are they not hearing Democratic wins, when they show up heavy to ask people to vote in certain ways, they don't do it. We have some Democrats in this past legislative session that voted to make citizen-led ballot initiatives more difficult to do.
I don't know if I'm going to agree with you on that.
It's fact. That's what happened.
We're also very much a minority in the state.
That is true, but if
So,
you're asking...
I know my local reps in the area that I can name, and they are fighting with tooth and nail up there. So, when you say blanket statements like that, it scares me, but I appreciate everything you're saying. And the message does need to get out, and I just want to let you know that it's a little frustrating when we lump people into the youth into one category like that. But we're fighting with you. We're here with you. Whatever you need, we would do for you. I just want to let you know.
Yeah.
I'm representing Lake County. I am a precinct captain.
And I want you to know, for Anna, the incredible Representative Escamani, Senator Carlos Smith, Senator Chevron Jones, right? These incredible left-leaning, but these are individuals that young people flock to. Young people are all around Representative Escamani and her organization, People Power, which registers predominantly young Democratic voters. They flock to these people who are doing the things that young people believe in, but not all of our Democrats are doing that. So I think that's more an example to lead by, right? More Democrats need to be following that example. I understand we're in the minority, but also not every Democrat is Anna V. Escamani, Dr. Anna V. Escamani. Not every Democrat is Senator Carlos Smith. And I think that's another thing to recognize. Yes?
We'll go with one other question.
Okay. Hi. I've been involved with some of the poster holding rallies around here, and I hope we get a lot more of you to show up. I know there's lots going on October 18th, but maybe you'll choose this. One of the things that I have been noticing at these rallies is some of the messaging that we're sending out to other people is bad Trump.
I just wanted to
hate
thank you.
Trump. Awful stuff, Trump. instead of the messaging about what we can and should do to support everybody out there. And so I know it's free speech, but I want to go up sometimes to people who have posters and say, you know, it's not helpful to say 8647. You all know what that means? But to me, it meant get rid of, elect him out, but some people think it means assassinate the president. And that kind of messaging shuts everybody down, shuts the conversation down. So I think, to follow up on what you said, I think it would be helpful for the Democratic Party to give us talking points as well, and positive themes. This is what we have done. And when we see Trump taking credit for the infrastructure bill, oh my God, it makes me crazy. So I think we need help to get our messaging and keep our messaging as positive as we can.
Yeah. I know that, Republicans have this horrible thing called Project 2025, right? It's horrendous, it's awful, but it also outlines every single thing they want to do and how to do it. Do we have anything like that for the Democrats? No. No. How are we going to achieve the things that we say that we want to achieve? I don't know. Young voters don't know. If we had more information on that, I think it would be very helpful. We had positive messaging on Democrats. I think that too would be very helpful. I know we're at the end of questions, but I will be here if you guys want to talk to me individually. I'm very happy to chat with you. Thank you all so much for having me.
Before I conclude, I just want to mention that in our own household, we had a whole crisis with our kids in the 24 election, trying to get them involved. They were kind of apathetic, to tell you the truth. Even though they've been around, seen us for a lot of different elections. So we're trying to figure out how to get them involved. And like I said, no matter what we did, we couldn't get them involved. So what we did is we said, we'll get you involved. We're going to spend your inheritance early. We have the power of the pen, and we went out and bought 25,000 bumper stickers. And we gave 10,000 of them to our daughter in North Carolina. And she got involved in distributors. Last thing, in your lanyard, please take out the piece of paper. Take a look at that. That's David Jolly from last month. Keep this paper. This is what we're able to do as an organization. We're going to take a picture with Kat and some other staff out here so that she can have something from the villages that we do care. And on the back side of the paper, again, take it out, go ahead and keep this. Share this with your friends, because this is the next roadside rally we have coming up, which will be on October 18th, which is a Saturday. So thank you so much for making it out today. Have a great day.